Hello, students of class 12. Today we are going to discuss the molecular basis of inheritance. Though the class will be in English so that the students of English medium can understand, but those who study in Bengali medium also they will be able to understand because the discussion will be in very simple English, and all of you, I think, are already habituated to read the important books needed to be read for the coming NEET examination. Therefore, it is expected that the students of both the Bengali and the English media will be able to understand this discussion, and after the discussion is over, you will be able to send questions if there is any in the form of typed sentences, and I will try to give the answers all the questions uh, in a voice message. However, now let us start molecular basis of inheritance, a part of class 12. It's a very interesting part how the offsprings of an animal or a plant resemble the shape and size of their parents. Human beings also resemble sometimes, in most times, their parents. And from time immemorial, people have thought, people have been thinking and trying to find out the cause of this similarity between the offsprings and their parental generations. However, scientists also did not sit idle. They also tried to find out the actual cause of inheritance, which is the substance, which are the substances responsible for inheritance from one generation to other, from one cell to other. They have tried to find out it, but it took a lot of research works, the history of which may be traced back to 1868, when Frederick Messer isolated nucleic acid from the past cell nuclei, and he named that nucleic acid as nuclein. In 1875, Strasburger, he found some fibrillar structures in the eukaryotic cells, and Fleming in 1879, he named those fibrillar structures as chromatin. Later, in 1888, W. Waldheer, he renamed those chromatin fibers as chromosomes. However, Avery, MacLeod, and McCarthy proved in 1944 that DNA is the genetic material of every organism, and there are two types of nucleic acids present in this living world. And in 1961, Kornberg was able to artificially synthesize DNA, and Dr. Hargobind Khurana, an India-born scientist, he was also associated with the synthesis and engineering of the DNA. However, to prove that DNA is the genetic material, scientists had to do some research works. First, I want to go through some systems which are followed, which we have to study, some jargons, some words which we have to study, and before entering into the main topic, we must know that first is X-ray crystallography. DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid, and it can be crystallized. And after crystallization, if some salts are added to it, it forms crystals. And after formation of the crystals, X-ray may be sent through the crystals, and when X-ray is sent through a crystal, it diffraction of the X-rays take place, and it was done by Astbury in 1940s, W.T. Astbury, and it indicated that DNA is a polynucleotide where successive nucleotides occur at intervals of 3.4 angstrom. Following the process of X-ray crystallography, it was discovered that DNA is a polynucleotide where successive nucleotides occur at intervals of 3.4 angstrom. Then Franklin in 1952 observed that DNA is a double helix, and Wilkins and Franklin in 1953, in the following year, obtained a very fine X-ray diffraction picture of DNA, and Watson and Crick, both of them were physicists. They were quick to take up the matter and parsing together all the previous information put forward by the scientists I told you just now. Watson and Crick in 1953 concluded that DNA was made up of two antiparallel helical chains which are held together by hydrogen bonds created between their nitrogen bases. Therefore, Wilkins, Watson and Crick were awarded Nobel Prize jointly in 1962. However, DNA is a duplex having a diameter of 20 angstrom. The duplex is coiled plectronemically in a right-handed manner. Just as a rope stair, you might have seen somewhere rope stairs. When large buildings are constructed, rope stairs are used. Stairs, বাংলায় মই, stairs are used to reach the top of the building, and if that rope stair is twisted to form a spiral, its shape will be like that of a DNA. This coiling procedure produces alternate major and minor grooves. Again, consider the shape of the rope stair, and it is twisted. You twisted it to form a spiral. Then you will find some grooves, and these grooves, some of these grooves will be major and some are minor. In case of DNA, there are alternate major grooves having 22 angstrom length and minor grooves 12 angstrom length. Each turn of spiral has a distance of 34 angstrom. Turn means you take the total length to constitute a 360-degree circle. It will complete a turn, and this distance is 34 angstrom, and within this length contains 10 deoxyribonucleotides in each chain, so that the average distance between adjacent deoxyribonucleotides is 3.4 angstrom. 10 deoxyribonucleotides within 34 angstrom length. That means the distance between two adjacent deoxyribonucleotides is 3.4 angstrom. I am giving you some pictures also, which you will keep side by side while listening to this discussion, and hope you will be able to learn. However, we are going to establish that the DNA is the genetic material. But before that, we have to mention some experiments done by some renowned scientists of the time, such as Griffith in 1928. He conducted a transformation experiment. He took some virulent strains of Streptococcus pneumoniae that caused pneumonia. Those virulent strains have an envelope that is smooth. That envelope outside the bacterial body is smooth, which is why the defense system in the body, the leukocytes, phagocytic leukocytes, they could not engulf those smooth bacteria to destroy them, and therefore they could be virulent. Those virulent Streptococcus pneumoniae are named as S strain, S hyphen strain. S means their outermost covering is smooth. And another non-virulent strain is there, that is R strain, which lacks the mucilage sheath outside the body of the bacteria. Therefore, their outermost covering is rough. And for being rough, the defense system in the body, comprising of the white blood corpuscles, they could identify them and engulf them to destroy. So they could not create any disease. They were non-virulent strains or R strains. Then you must remember that two strains are there. A strains, that means whose outermost covering has a mucilage sheath, therefore it is smooth and difficult for the WBCs to identify them, to give them a point of attachment to their body for endocytosis. And another strain, that is rough strain or R strain, that lacks mucilage sheath, for which their outermost covering is rough, that could get attachment points on the plasma membrane of the WBCs, which helped the WBCs to engulf them and destroy them. So those strains, those R strains are not virulent, are non-virulent strains. Griffith conducted the experiment. He injected R-type live bacteria into mice. R means rough, I told you. Rough means with the cell wall being rough, it gets the points of attachment. So there was no disease because the defense mechanism engulfed those bacteria, and therefore there was no disease developed. And those bacteria could be isolated from the blood of animal, but no disease was found. So R-type Streptococcus pneumoniae could not create any disease, but live S-type or virulent bacteria, whose outer coverings are smooth, having mucilage sheath, and therefore do not get any attachment point, they are virulent strains. Those S-type bacteria, when injected into the mice, produced pneumonia. The animals died of the disease. So in the first case, when R-type live bacteria were injected into the mice, no disease developed, but the bacteria were found and isolated in the blood of the animal. But when S-type or virulent strain of bacteria were injected into the mice, they produced the disease pneumonia, and the animals died of the disease. The blood of the dead mice was found to contain live S-type bacteria. Then Griffith heat killed S-type virulent bacteria. Heat was applied to the virulent bacteria and those were killed. And heat killed bacteria, when injected into the mice, no disease was produced. And in the fourth experiment, when Griffith injected the mice with a mixture of heat-killed S-type and live R-type bacteria simultaneously. He found that some mice survived while others developed pneumonia and died of it. Blood from dead mice showed the presence of both non-virulent R-type and virulent S-type. You remember that the S-type virulent bacteria were heat-killed and injected, but now live virulent S-type bacteria are found in the blood of the dead mice. The experiment was repeated to confirm the results. Occurrence of live S-type bacteria means transformation has taken place from R-type bacteria into S-type. How is it possible? Through the transfer of some biochemicals from the dead bacteria. Dead bacteria were virulent, they were heat killed, but there were some biochemicals in those bacteria which have been transferred to the R-type bacteria, which are non-virulent type, and it was called transforming principle. The change in the genetic property of bacteria through transformation is known as Griffith effect. Griffith's experiment, however, did not specify the chemical. Griffith could not know what the chemical was. The chemical responsible for transforming the non-virulent type into virulent ones could not be ascertained by Griffith in this experiment, and at the time of Griffith, scientists believed that protein was the genetic material. Since transforming principle of Griffith was obviously the genetic material, it created ripples in the minds of the scientists. They took up the matter, and 3 biologists set out to find the chemical nature that transformed the non-virulent bacteria into virulent types in the experiment of Griffith. The 3 scientists, Avery, MacLeod, and McCarthy, in 1944, killed S-type bacteria with heat and separated their components. Inside the body of the bacteria, there are many components: DNA, proteins, carbohydrates. These 3 components, mainly these 3 components were separated, and DNA component was subdivided into 2. In one part, hydrolyzing enzyme DNase is responsible for breaking down the DNA thread. DNase enzyme was mixed in one part, and the other part of DNA remained without it. Then they added these. So now we have 4 components separated from the bacterial cells: DNA, fragmented DNA, nucleotides, where nucleotides are separated, so it cannot be called now a DNA. It's a mixture of many nucleotides. And then another component is complete DNA. The third component is proteins, and the fourth, carbohydrates. Now we get 4 components, and they added these 4 different components over culture medium supporting R-type bacteria. a culture medium, a medium having the nutrients that support the growth of a bacteria is called a culture medium. In this culture medium of R-type bacteria, R-type means rough bacteria, they added these 4 components on 4 culture media supporting R-type bacteria. After an interval of a few hours, the bacteria were analyzed. There was no change in the 3 cultures having additions of S-type carbohydrates, S-type proteins, and S-type DNA with DNase. S-type, remember that the S-type bacteria were killed, heat killed, and their components were separated into DNA, proteins, and carbohydrates. And DNA component was subdivided into 2, one with hydrolyzing enzyme DNase and the other without it. After an interval, the bacteria were analyzed. There was no change in 3 cultures having additions of S-type carbohydrates, where S-type carbohydrates were used, or S-type proteins were used, or S-type DNA with DNase were used. In these 3 culture media, there was no change. But in the 4th culture, having S-type DNA without DNase, it was found to have some bacteria of S-type. I have mentioned that the culture media was for the R-type bacteria, and there the components of S-type bacteria, 4 components of S-type bacteria were mixed, and one such culture medium having the S-type DNA produced S-type bacteria. They must have been formed from R-type bacteria with the help of DNA of S-type. Therefore, DNA represents the genetic material. It is concluded that DNA represents the genetic material because where proteins were given, no change, where carbohydrates were given, no change, where fragmented DNA, that means nucleotides, were given, no change, but where complete DNA of the S-type bacteria was added, the R-type bacteria transformed into, some of the R-type bacteria transformed into S-type bacteria. That means there was the transformation occurred with the help of the DNA of the S-type. It means the DNA represents the genetic material. Another example is there, that is transduction experiment. Transduction means injecting the DNA of a bacteriophage into the shell of a bacteria. DNA being the genetic material was proved from transduction experiments. Hershey and Chase in 1952 conducted these transduction experiments. They raised T2 bacteriophage over 2 different bacterial colonies, one having radioactive phosphorus 32P and the other having radioactive sulfur 35S. Radioactive sulfur got incorporated in the capsid proteins of bacteriophage. You know, the covering of a virus is called capsid, and its units are called capsomere. These are made up of proteins, mainly proteins, and in capsid proteins, 35S, that means radioactive sulfur, got incorporated. Radioactive phosphorus, 32P, got incorporated into the DNA of bacteriophage. Sulfur got incorporated into the capsid, and phosphorus into the DNA, because you know that a nucleotide comprises of a base, purine or pyrimidine, a ribose or deoxyribose sugar, whatever the case may be. In case of RNA it is ribose, in case of DNA it is deoxyribose, and a phosphate. So in the phosphate moiety, the 32P became incorporated in the culture medium. The two types of bacteriophages were introduced to infect different bacterial colonies of Escherichia coli. You have heard the name of this bacteria, Escherichia coli. There were two cultures, and in one culture 35S protein containing phage were introduced, and in another culture 32P DNA containing phage was introduced to attack them. And you know, when bacteriophage invades the cell of a bacteria, it casts off its capsid covering and injects its genetic material into the bacterial cell. In the experiment, the two cultures were taken out and independently agitated, stirred on a blender. It was mixed vigorously. The empty phage capsids or ghosts, these are called ghosts, the cast of capsids which are of no use, these are called ghosts. They got separated from the bacterial cells before penetrating their DNA into the bacterial cell. The capsid covering is cast off. In the experiment using 35S, radioactivity remained limited to supernatant, having phage ghosts. Now, in the fluid, where the mixture of these phage and bacterial cells were stirred or agitated, a supernatant fluid was found, the uppermost part of the fluid, that is supernatant fluid, where radioactivity for 35S was limited. And in the experiment using 32P, radioactivity was absent in the supernatant having phage ghosts. I told you that two experiments were done. In one experiment, 35S protein containing bacteriophages were used to infect the bacterial cell, and after injecting the DNA, the capsids were cast off they become separated from the bacterial cell wall, and if the mixture, the culture medium is shaken vigorously, stirred vigorously, then a supernatant fluid is found where the capsid coverings remain in the supernatant fluid, and there 35S radioactivity is found. But in the other experiment where the virus with 32P were used to infect the bacterial cell wall, and the ghosts, that is the cast of capsid coverings, remained in the supernatant fluid, there was no radioactivity, but the radioactivity was found in the rest of the in the bacterial cells, and also in the phages that multiplied inside the bacterial cells. Therefore, DNA is the genetic material which could enter the bacteria and helped in phage multiplication. The protein part did not have any such function. Protein is cast off, and in the supernatant fluid it remained, and radioactivity against the 35S protein were found. And these two experiments proved unequivocally that in this case DNA was the genetic material, and we had to wait up to this period, up to the early 60s, to establish the nature and functions of DNA. However, in the next discussion, we should know the structure of a DNA before going into the molecular basis of inheritance.